Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Welcome back to Signal Fire Radio. I am your host, Rob Renz. I am joined by my two best buds in the whole entire world. All three of us have on some pretty sick t-shirts too. We'll get to that in a second. Matthew, how are you today?
Hydrated. Well dressed.
You are well dressed.
In the presence of greatness.
I'm glad to hear that you're hydrated. What do you try to do, like 96 ounces of water a day? Or
No.
You've got that gigantic
No, you know.
hydro flask.
I drink like
Dive tank.
I drank like 2 or 3 of these a day.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude,
and then
that's-
not to mention I will literally knock this out. It'll be full on my bedstand at night, and then when I wake up the next morning, it'll literally be gone.
You'll drink that whole thing as soon as you wake up?
No, I'll be nursing it while I'm like getting ready to go to bed.
Uh-huh.
And then when I wake up in the middle of the night to hit the head, I go back in bed, sit on the edge, and like gulp like half of it.
How do
Really?
you not get up 17 times in the middle of the night?
That's a great question.
Good question.
I do bladder therapy. I don't know.
Do you
I
really?
just-
Is there such a bladder therapy?
No. Yeah, it's called going on long drives with the Mylot family. Growing up, we're not stopping.
You know what I respect so much about the two of you? Not only the amount of water that you consume, but everywhere your kids go, they always have their little water jugs with them, and you don't have to beg them to drink it. I have to beg Olivia and Madeline to drink water.
No, we won't, we can't leave the house. Eloise will demand that she brings a water bottle.
You guys are better parents than me. It's just what it
I always
is.
have a bleed kit, guns,
yeah.
and water on
we're
it.
just
always
more
got
we're just
my-
more experienced.
I've always got my bug out bag. And that's got, first aid kit and all that other stuff that you just mentioned.
snacks.
Like-
A
Zombie-
spinach Florentine
Snacks.
MRE just in case.
Oh,
Kiefer Rutherford sent me a spinach Florentine MRE that he's had.
They didn't have
since,
that
like,
in my core.
2012.
No.
I don't remember that one.
No.
I don't either.
Did they have the spinach Florentine?
No. We were the old school chili mac and the
Veggie.
Chili
Yeah.
Mac.
Chili mac, chicken cacciatore,
chicken cacciatore. Yeah.
the 5 fingers of death,
Yeah. If you got Skittles or M&Ms in one of
Skittles,
them,
yeah.
you trade those.
Charms.
pound cake,
You guys ever do the ham steak?
Oh yeah.
The
yeah.
worst.
Yeah.
and they had
The worst.
pineapple
Yeah.
with it too, right? Or
Yeah.
no? Didn't they?
Yeah.
Ew.
It was awful.
Ugh.
I don't like it.
It's like spam, bro.
No.
Choking the grinds, brah.
No, it was not.
I think this is a fair point of consideration. What do you guys think about Spam?
I will be completely honest. I don't think I've ever had it.
No?
No.
Never once in your life.
Correct.
I lived in Hawaii for 4 years. I ate it 3 times a week.
With poi. Salmon poi, right?
No, what?
Yeah.
What? Spam and poi?
Yeah, I mean, like,
no.
as, on the
you know
same
what
dish.
poi is?
Of course I do. Yeah, it's like that little purpley yogurt stuff.
It's ground yam,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
I don't care for.
Okay.
But no, spam musubi, which is one of the greatest snacks ever invented.
What is it?
It's a pat of rice, like a small square of rice, with a piece of fried spam on top and teriyaki sauce glaze wrapped in seaweed.
That sounds
It's
good.
Ooh, that actually
fantastic.
does sound
Sounds
good.
good.
Alex, what's
Fantastic.
your position on Spam?
Well, I'm half Filipino,
Okay.
and so we've eaten a lot of spam.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we love all things pork and
Oh, yeah.
processed pork.
I
so,
always thought
yeah.
it was amazing how like World War II is when Spam made its way to the Hawaiian Islands, and then it spread
Like
throughout the
wildfire.
rest of Southeast Asia. Is that
Yeah.
right?
No, it's the South Pacific.
South Pacific, yeah. And now it's like massive there. I love Spam. I absolutely love
I dig
Spam.
it.
I could eat the heck out of it.
Only like the unflavored, original, full sodium. I don't need like maple
I don't need hea-
flavored
I don't need
spam.
healthy
I don't
spam.
need,
No.
yeah, I don't need hickory
You don't
smoked
eat it
spam.
for health.
No.
No. I mean,
What do you suppose is in Spam?
I don't care to know. I've driven through Minneapolis where the spam factory is, the Hormel factory, and the smells, I tell you.
Seriously, what does it smell like?
Good or not good?
It smells like a packing house.
Yeah.
I don't even know what is.
It's a meat processing plant.
But what does it smell like? Like, what does that smell
my
like?
first sergeant used to say, I don't think I can say it, but lips and
Lips and buttholes,
a-holes.
yeah.
Yeah, lips and buttholes.
Huh.
That works.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But
don't
people
think we
say
have
the
to
same
edit
thing
that for
about
radio.
freaking. People say the same thing about
Hot
bologna
dogs.
and hot dogs, and guess what?
They're
I
all
freaking love it.
delicious.
It's like, oh, this
Hot
is
dogs
the
are great.
leftovers. It's
Yeah.
like, sorry, I love it. We were just talking about bologna this morning. It's just like
Yeah.
nothing complements eggs better than like a slice of fried bologna
Well,
and
like,
avocado.
In the rest of the world, everyone eats the entire animal, so it's only us that
Yeah,
are
we're-
like, oh, we're not
Rooter.
going to eat the...
We're legs
yeah.
and breasts. That's like
Yeah.
all we eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Snooter,
right.
snooter to tutor. That's what our friends from South Africa would always say.
Snooter and tutor.
Snooter to tutor. That's how much of the animal they eat.
Spam is actually made from pork shoulder.
Pork really?
No.
That's
Meat. Pork
that's the
shoulders.
first named ingredient is pork shoulder?
Well, pork shoulder
Made from pork
byproduct. Like, they're
Pork
not,
shoulder
you're not going to
byproduct.
take the
So it's
actual
basically a
meat.
Boston butt.
yeah,
That's what it is.
Exactly.
It's so classy. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Evan, I was just about to ask you something, but then I totally forgot. It was about Spam. Have you ever had spam sushi? That's what I was going to ask you.
There's rolls that have
Yeah.
it in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Fan? Not a fan?
I will always resort to the musubi, especially because it's served warm. I don't like spam cold, even if it's like fried and then it gets cold.
Yeah.
You got to have it like hot and crispy. It's
Yeah.
so good.
My dad used to, when mom was away, dad would make, like on the 2 occasions that dad was home during my childhood.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Arlen.
He would make spam sandwiches. We'd have like that Roman, it has a little Roman dude is the brand of bread. It was like
Oh,
Oh,
armor.
yeah.
Armor.
Armor? Is
Or
that
no,
right?
no, no. Oh, bread. Roman.
Yeah, I know. I can
You
see
know what
it.
I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's in the orange, like light orange
Yeah.
package. Yeah. So we'd have that bread and tomatoes and lettuce and spam.
You need acid
And-
to
and mayo.
cut the spam for sure. It's
What
gotta
would you
be
recommend?
LSD?
mustard or
Mustard,
no,
yeah.
no, you need an acidic food.
Oh, acidic.
Yeah,
you said
need,
acid.
No, you need mustard or tomato is good. Yeah.
Nothing hits harder than a nice
Only
little
eat
drop of
spam,
acid
super high.
and some spam.
Yeah. I just eat it raw out of
Sounds
the
so
can.
bad.
Yeah.
It is so good. And I also have to mention, you're right about bologna, and it's clutch how you always have it in your fridge.
Except this morning. I didn't.
You didn't have it this morning?
No.
I go over to Matt's house. I go all my very good friends, anybody that I think I might even be good friends with, even if it's the first time I've been invited to their house, I'll go in their fridge and I'll look for string cheese and I'll look for bologna
And olives,
and olives.
which I always have all three.
We never have bologna. Jenna never lets that stuff in the
Yeah,
house.
your wife would
What
not.
about like boar's head beef bologna?
Maybe.
Like some high quality, like
Maybe.
upper crust bologna.
There's some high
Upper
quality bologna right there. Oh, I don't know. I'll talk to her about it when I
See
get
if they
home.
have it on Butcher Box.
Yeah.
She'll order it.
Yeah. So, Alex, this is our show. Basically, we just talk about
Yeah,
bologna
can
and
we course correct?
spam and
Totally great.
whatever
Awesome.
it is that we want to.
Yep.
So we met a
good.
couple weeks ago. I haven't told you guys this. Alex and I met a couple weeks ago. We did a thing for Whole Vet, Dale Robbins, friend of the show, I mean, we talked 2 times. We talked one time before that,
yeah.
and I was like, we got to have her on because I think we think a lot alike about military transition. I did the thing that I do about project managers, and I saw her getting all. Not that there's anything wrong with project managers. My point is that not everybody has to go be a project manager just
Sure.
because DOD is like, hey, you guys are going to make great project managers. So I said that, and she got all hot and bothered about it. I was like, she's coming on the show. She's coming on the show.
I'm literally mentoring a veteran or someone transitioning out of the Marine Corps right now, and she's been pushed to be a project manager, and she's got no. She's like, well, should I lead with the project management? I'm like, you have no official project management experience in corporate America. Like, it's going to be tough to relate to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everyone seems to be getting a PMP.
With that and what is the other one?
Operations manager.
Operations manager.
Operations
Well, and it's just
manager.
like Mickey said a few weeks ago. It's and just exactly what you said. The experiences that we have in the military don't directly translate.
No.
It's okay. So you did air quotes project management in the Marine Corps, the Army, or Navy, or Air Force, but an employer is going to look at that and be like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Right. No, they want to see. I mean, they want to see like the rigor. Did you actually do like financial modeling and the cost benefit analysis and
My mouth is getting dry.
Yeah. Let's talk about spam and bologna. So tell our listeners, just give us kind of your background, like military experience, and then up to now.
Well, I think I'm the oldest Marine in here, possibly.
No, Matt's older. Gotta be.
I was born in 80.
77.
Oh, she's younger than me. Well, you're eating the right vitamins because you look
Younger than
fantastic.
You were born in 1980.
That's
No,
how bad
I meant
his head
I meant
injuries
she
are.
looks
Oh.
younger than me. That's what I meant.
We say in our family, beige don't age because I'm a half.
That is the truth because every single Asian blood friend I have, they look the same age until they're like, I don't even know.
Until menopause.
Even past. My cousins look. My cousin was dating a guy who was like 27. She was like 50, and she was getting carded.
Really?
Yeah, you're anti-ginging, Jacob. Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good blood right there.
Family affair right
her.
there.
Yeah.
That's good blood right there.
She looks amazing. Yeah, I don't know.
Beige don't age.
Beige don't
Evan,
age.
that hit you
That's
in
what we-
a
That's
very...
funny. I've heard of black don't crack. I've
Right.
heard of
There's nothing
Well, there's-
fun
there's-
for white people.
beige don't age.
because we're vanilla.
That's because
Yeah.
we
You think
age.
they got
It's
the
because we
vanilla?
age like bananas. That's why.
we just get brown spots and jaundice.
Look at all those freckles. Your skin looks like salami.
Yeah.
But they call it liver spots, which makes it even worse.
It
Right.
does.
Yeah.
It does.
It's
Ooh.
not cute.
I don't
It's
like
not
it.
cute.
I don't like it.
Oh my gosh.
So,
So,
yours-
oh yeah.
Where were we?
We were talking about age and old. So I was got out of college. I was working in New York City as a publicist, and 9/11 happened. So I watched that happen in front of me. And at the time, I was fighting already. I was a Muay Thai fighter. I just come back from a world championship, and I was getting ready for my next fight. So 9/11 happened, and I just I don't know if you guys remember, but it was just like, how do you even get up the next morning?
Right.
So I went to go for my my training run the next day, and I'm like, I can't do this. I can't get in a ring with someone who is willing to fight me. Like, I should fight.
Right.
Bad guys.
I should fight bad guys. Yeah. I want to get these people who did this. So I call after a failed stint with the Army recruiter who kept trying to get me to sign before they would tell me anything about the MOS.
High pressure sales tactics.
It was really,
come on.
He's like, just sign here and I'll tell you about it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not 18. I mean, I've been working for like a few years. So just cut it out.
I could probably kick your ass right now if necessary.
I try not to lead with that.
That's good.
Yeah. So I called the Marine OSO, and he's like, you're a fighter. Awesome. Be down here at like 1500, wear this clothes, and we're going to go do this. And I'm like, I like the way that you think. It's like super direct. You tell me exactly what I need to do. So I went, I had to wait a year because of the female OCS classes. There was only one a year at that time. So I went in 2002, October 2002, went to the basic school afterwards, and then I got stationed out in the fleet in Camp Pendleton. And then pretty much I checked into my unit, and the battalion commander said, don't even unpack, you're leaving in like 3 weeks. So this was after the first surge, and this was already in, going in the kind of the OIF, I can't remember, 2 TAC 1 or whatnot. But I went to Kuwait. I was a logistics officer, so I went to Kuwait. I did container lot offload, and I loved it. I mean, I loved just being around the Marines. I loved, just doing different things.
So what time? When was this exactly? When you were in Kuwait?
January 2004 to May 2004.
Okay. I can only imagine how, because I was there. Right? I was there for the invasion.
Okay.
And I can only imagine.
The
multitude of
surge.
Oh, it was a cluster. Yeah. Well, they were offloading. I guess we had caves in like Finland or Scandinavia somewhere.
Yeah, where they kept the reserve forces materials.
All the materials in caves.
In mountains. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Like they have LAVs. They have freaking tanks.
Are they still there today?
MTVRs. I don't know.
We should go.
Maybe.
We should go.
This sounds like a good field trip.
It does.
Let's find this out. But they had, they were like offloading just containers and container loads of ships, and then all the units were pushing up north into various camps in Iraq, and they're like, just divvy up the gear. Kevlar SAPI plates, we didn't have them standard issued yet, and so all of a sudden, because Marines were getting blown up, they're like, oh, we should probably get these guys some plates.
Not doing a lot of good in Kuwait. Yeah.
No, and it was just, it was like every battalion commander was like fighting each other because they're like, my guys need it, my guys need it. They're like, Lieutenant, you make the decision. I'm like, oh, jeez. So anyway, but that wasn't very exciting. And then one of my best friends there, he's like, hey, they have another slot to fill up north, because I was supposed to just go back to Pendleton after that. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm going. I want to go.
I'm here. I already made the plane trip.
Yeah.
Iraq, beautiful
It was
landscape.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Especially during the summer.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
Mosul is
beautiful
nice.
time.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we went up to Al-Assad.
Okay.
And I was a watch officer there, and before I even made it there, I had to go to Blue Diamond for 3 weeks and get some training on what it's like to run convoys out of Ramadi and Al-Assad. So
That was back when Blue Force Tracker was like
yes, Blue
cutting
Force
edge.
Tracker.
BFT.
That was oh gosh, I have great Blue Force Tracker stories.
I do too.
So Blue Falcon, we started calling it
Yeah.
Blue Falcon Tracker.
Captain Blue Falcon.
Oh my God. This story's taking way too long.
No, you're good. Take
no,
your
it is
time
good.
out.
Okay.
This is good.
So I went up. I did a bunch of convoys. My battalion commander and the sergeant major went on my first convoy, which was really kind of like nerve-wracking, and on top of the fact that we're already in Ramadi, and why why are these guys on my convoy?
And you're still new to the fleet, and you're like
No,
downrange.
I'm a
As
boot.
green as they
yeah,
come, yeah.
I'm a boot, and yes, that was me.
Hello.
I'm here. I'm
Hello,
here.
gentlemen.
Well, and the good thing was when we were in Kuwait, the Marines really kind of schooled me about like, this is what we hate about officers. Let me give you, and I'm like, what makes a good officer? Just, Lance Corporal, tell me what you, and Corporal, tell me what's a good officer. And
Listen
they
to
told
us.
me.
Yeah.
And they're like, listen to us, you guys know crap. I'm like, well, you're absolutely right. I don't know how to operate that machine.
Most Lance Corporal-y answer ever.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're
You
doing,
don't know what you're
ma'am.
doing. And I was like, okay, that's true. I'm like, well, teach me how to operate that. Like this big container handler thing. Because I'm like, what happens if you die? And I'm the only one left standing, which is a bad day for everybody. But so I got in the machines and I'm like, tell me what to do. I moved some containers around. I was like, this is awesome. Tell me what else to do. So it just kind of set a precedent of like, you really don't know anything about the equipment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to understand how officers fit into this whole thing. Like, I was older than the other lieutenants I went into the fleet with, but it just didn't. I was trying to understand, like, oh, you just want me to be responsible for money, for people's lives, and then
Right.
just someone to blame at some point for losing any of those things. So I was like, okay, that's cool. But it was good to understand that because when I went up to Al Assad, I was stuck in a watch office for 2 or 3 months.
Snooze.
It's the most it's a brutal job. It's terrible. The only good thing was the battalion commander was so short on convoy commanders. He's like, every officer's getting out and leading convoys. So led quite a few convoys there. And it also just gave me an appreciation for like, hey, I need air support. Can you call in some air? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it when I get to it. That's not the case. We're just like, what it's like to be out there. So it makes sense. Had to go back. I guess they were calling me back to Pendleton. They're like, we have a platoon for you, and you can stay or you can get the platoon. And I'm like, yes, female logistics officer. There's not a ton of leadership opportunities. So came back, had a platoon. A lot of guys from OIF, the first pump, guys who were, just had popped on a bunch of piss tests. It's a bunch of court-ordered Marines.
You mean Matt? I'm just joking. I'm just
fine.
joking.
No
I would
judgment.
never
No.
besmirch your name
I
like
don't even
that.
know where that came from. No, I never, ever touched anything illegal when I was in the Marine Corps.
I was just saying because you were there for the invasion, so you were the first one back.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I did find marijuana in Iraq, though.
And you turned it in.
I think I just took a picture of it and kept walking. I'm like, that's marijuana.
You guys are
Like a
weird.
plant or like a...
Yeah. Oh, it was growing in a yard.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, it was. They had a bunch of
Interesting.
them. It was kind of bizarre, but
Where was this?
Al Koot, I think.
Oh.
I think it was in Al Koot. It was a very quick thing. I'm surprised I actually remember that still, but
Hey, weed plant. Bye.
sending into high times. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I
Selfie?
interrupted.
Oh, it's fine. This story's, again, taking too long. So got the Marines ready for deployment, and knowing that I was going to meet, I guess, half the platoon out in country. I was getting reservists. I was getting guys that were rolling over from the previous deployment. So
Hodgepodge.
it was just it was just a mess. And the guys were already burned out from being over there for much longer than they anticipated after the first pump. So just getting to know them, and like, what do I know about motor T and truck drivers? And not a whole heck of a lot, but it was good. And so then getting into country, it just made it helped that I had done the first trip. I'd known like the basics of the new convoy operations, because the convoy operations they were teaching us in school were from Vietnam, where you herringbone, the vehicles, which doesn't work with IEDs very well. So, and so we were there for eight months. We went through the second Al-Fajr, the Red Dawn in Fallujah, and we were in direct support for 1st Marine Division. And that was just, I don't have to tell you guys, but like, you just don't understand what the human body's capable of doing on a deploy, when you're going literally 24/7. And we did everything from, we transported EPWs, we transported machines, we transported personnel, we transported everything. And then got back in 2005. And as soon as I got back, my 96 was over, and they're like, your platoon's been disbanded. Everyone's been gone to their other next unit
So what do you want me to
getting
do?
ready for the next pump. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we
I
didn't
just got him.
We just came back. Like, you know, that was it. And then sent me into another company. Wasn't an officer there. And so I acted as company's commander for like 3 weeks until this guy checked in. Oh, that's a terrible story, but we'll get into that later. So I'm going to wrap up this story because it's taking way too long.
This is a great story.
This is, it feels like it's taking a long
We're
time.
enthralled.
Not at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You take as much time as necessary to tell it because I'm enjoying it.
So this captain checks in, and I'm a first lieutenant at this point, but I'm still a lieutenant, right? And this captain checks in, and he was just a total, like, when you stare in someone's eyes, and there's like nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
This was this guy.
That's what they feel about me.
That's how they.
Stay with me, Rob. Stay with me. Blink if you can hear me, Rob.
Where are we going?
Just shoot him some Adderall or something, man. But I was getting that, and he would just kind of like stare off into space sometimes, and I'm like, what is going on? So he had just gotten off the drill field for the past 2 pumps, and they're like, well, you're a perfect person to groom this fine captain because you just did 2 combat deployments to Iraq and you know everything about convoys. And I'm like, oh, great. So the staff NCOs and myself were like just trying to keep this guy reined in, but didn't really hit us until we went to CAX. Do they still do CAX?
29 Palms?
29 Palms.
Yeah.
It was Eagle Operation. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of the thing. But it was basically the DOD was like, wow, we're sending these units into a country and they have no idea what they're doing. We should probably do, especially like the pogues like us, right? The grunts always do some training, but we're just basically back home. We just go into the field and give you resupply. We come back, we sleep in our beds. So they're like, let's do some actual convoy operations. Let's do some, maneuver stuff. And we went to 29 Palms, and this started for several years. And so once we were out there, I mean, I've never seen something like this where someone couldn't make a decision, and when they made a decision, it was the absolute like worst one. Which I mean, sometimes you make bad decisions, and sometimes the decision's wrong. But the point is that you correct it like afterwards.
Well, and that you did make a decision.
And that you did make a decision, right? But like again, what I said before. Us as officers, we don't know anything about the equipment, so like defer to your staff NCOs and defer to the operators about how things are supposed to work, and don't just make up your own thing. So I was getting like sick, and I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but like every time something bad would happen over there, I'd get this feeling. I'd get this
pit.
like.
It's the darkest,
Yeah,
creepiest.
the
It's terrible, right? I can't. No one understands that feeling, but it's like
a feeling that you're accepting the fact that
this is it.
I could very likely die.
It's the feeling of impending doom.
Yes, or like stuff is about to go down, and it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be really bad. And I was just like tormented with this because on one hand, this guy is like total idiot. And on the other hand, these Marines, like I love Marines. I love being with the Marines and just being there. And I'm like, well, if I stay with them, I could maybe just kind of protect them a little bit from this guy.
Right.
And it just started coming down to it. Like I couldn't, that feeling was so strong and was relentless for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I came to a point where they're like, you need to extend your EAS if you're going to go on this next deployment, which was 3 months after I just got back, by the way. And I was like, I couldn't do it. I freaked out and panicked. I'm like, I can't go with this guy. I actually went to request mast to the battalion commander, and I'm like, when I got back to Pendleton, I'm like, sir, this guy's going to get Marines killed. Like that is the
Good for you.
absolutely going to happen. He's like, well, that's why we put you with him. And
At that point in your career, was it a very difficult thing to do, being a female officer? Like at that point, were you like, no, I'm a Marine now? Were you operating in that mentality?
No,
by
I
then?
mean, not to say I was a salty lieutenant, but at that
I mean,
point,
God, how many deployments you had?
Two trips is salty.
2 trips, and the trips were. I mean, I have no frame of reference because I know guys deploy like 7 or 8 times, so I don't understand how people do that. But that second trip was just, I mean, first of all, I didn't understand why I was alive. We were the luckiest convoy, the luckiest platoon in like all of Iraq OIF history. I do not understand.
Like the bad news bears.
There's some people who are like, well, there's some people, you know, when like the other platoon commander, when every time he would go out, he'd get hit every single time. And we'd like pull up into a field and we'd get a radio message saying, hey, by the way, there's an active firefight. You guys might want to just like drive around Fallujah for a little bit until things calm down.
Take a few lefts.
We'll set up at the Cloverleaf.
Yeah. We'll just stand here in the Cloverleaf for the next 3 hours. Anyway, yeah, so I was messed up from that because I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but every time we went out, I was just prepared. Like, today's the day. Okay, It didn't happen yet. Well, today's going to be the day. And we never got a significant like IED. And I didn't lose anyone on a convoy, and I didn't understand why, because everyone else around me did. And it freaked me out because I'm like, my number's up. It's going to be up, and it's going to be catastrophic and disastrous, which is irrational. But anyway, so when I got back, I wanted to go because that's where I felt like, you asked me if I felt like a Marine then. I was like, this is where I need to be. Like I became almost like cocky of like, if I take this convoy out, everyone's going to be okay, which is also a terrible thing to be able to do. And I didn't take stupid risks, but just like knowing that I had some power protecting me. It didn't make sense, but I just knew that I would be okay. So with this captain here, I just couldn't shake this feeling like it's going to be bad. And so I dropped my papers. They're like, screw you. You're not doing anything else. They took me off as XO. And they stuck me in 29 Palms for 6 months doing, Mojave Viper. Operate Mojave Viper.
Wait, so they told you to pound sand?
Yes.
Literally in 29 Palms.
Literally, I pounded the sand in 29 Palms.
So you went from Iraq to 29?
Pretty much. I went to Pendleton for like 2 months, and then we went out to Mojave Viper.
Right.
And then they were just standing up the Mojave Viper debt. And when I dropped my papers, they're like, well, we have no need for you back in Pendleton, so just stay out in 29 Palms.
Hold this thought, because I want to hear what happens after 29 Palms. We got to take a real quick break. And perfect segue, because you know how Wilmington, North Carolina is the fastest growing place in the United States of America?
Because Signal Fire calls Wilmington home.
Well, because nobody wants to move to 29 Palms.
True.
Preach.
And you know who is not in 29 Palms?
All of us?
All of us, but also the musical mortgage man, Mr. Garrett Huffman, sponsor of the show. And just overall good rockin' mortgage dude. Not only does he rock guitars, but he rocks mortgages too as well. NMLS number 1778213. That one's new. I surprised myself even with that. But number one in our hearts, if you're going to move to the Wilmington, North Carolina area, get in touch with Garrett Huffman at loandepot.com. That's Garrett Huffman at loandepot.com. We're going to take a real quick break. Do not go anywhere.
It's a hot market out here. What's the best way to be prepared to buy a house in a hot market like this? It is certainly not finding a home, then calling an agent, and then trying to get pre-approved, because by the time you get to the lender, the house will probably be under contract by somebody else with another 15 pending offers on top of it. It's a crazy market right now, so you got to be prepared, before you even start shopping. Best way to do that, first and foremost, is to get in contact with your mortgage lender, ideally me. And to also be prepared to be financially naked in front of that mortgage lender. We have to ask you questions that are uncomfortable, but we have to know the answers to the questions to be able to know if you're qualified or not. Be prepared to have documentation ready up front, especially if you work in a position where your income is variable by nature. I'm gonna need to see pay stubs, tax returns, things like that, because as much of a pain as it might be for you to have to provide some of that, it's going to be a whole lot easier down the road if I know for sure that you're pre-approved before you go putting an offer in on a house. We don't want anything to fall apart last minute. So Come to a lender first, be prepared to tell them everything about your financial situation, be very clear with your goals. Are you looking for a house that's at a certain purchase price, or are you looking for a monthly payment to be somewhere? Or is it a type of home that you're looking for? The lender needs to know everything about what you intend to do to structure it in the best way possible so that when you find that house with the real estate agent, you can act right then and there and know that you've got a great shot at getting it. Because when there's 20 people lined up behind you, you need everything you can to be going for you.
The explosion hit. I lost consciousness. There was another soldier. He was directly under the blast. And when I was doing my check for casualties, that's when I found him. I hadn't had to see anything like that up until that point. And that is the one thing that I see on a regular basis is this kid. He was 19 years old. My name is James Rodriguez. I'm a veteran from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I support the Compassionate Care Act, Senate Bill 711. One deployment story completely changes a veteran. They don't feel like they have any other options a lot of times, and when they feel like they're alone, they have no reason to go on. The VA had me on 12 different medications, and that's exactly what I used to attempt suicide. Medical cannabis has been able to treat so many different symptoms of my PTSD. Everyone has different symptoms and different ailments. North Carolina as a whole can benefit from medical cannabis.
Welcome back to Signal Fire Radio. We have a fantastic conversation going on with our new friend Alex Stokman Brackett. Before we get back into Matt, what are you doing?
I don't know. I just felt like doing that. It's like I'm
You're bobbing and weaving?
Yeah, you got to watch our. If you only
getting
listen,
on. I get my Muay Thai on.
Yeah. Oh, yep. And he hits his head on the mic.
Dickhead.
If you only ever watch this or listen to this show via podcast, you're missing out on all of our antics. We do have a YouTube channel. Go to YouTube. Look up Signal Fire Media because you'll see all sorts of things that Matt does.
Because we can get away with things on YouTube that we cannot get away with on air.
Exactly.
Like birds. Lots of birds.
Lots of birds. Yeah.
Just a flock
Yeah.
of seagulls.
I flipped one before.
All the
Yeah.
all the self-editing we do, because this does go out on radio, it doesn't happen on video. We don't care. We do whatever the heck it is that you want. I'm currently
Makes sense.
drinking a White Claw, so there
Sometimes
you go.
we
You didn't
mouth,
know that.
Sometimes we mouth cuss words.
Yeah, we do.
I did that too. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did you say elephant juice?
I said watermelon shoe.
Oh, it's too great. Hey, what do you think of my T-shirt, Evan?
I love it. I love it. I love the name.
Yeah.
I love the color. I love that it's a martial arts gym.
Yeah,
It's a 36 chamber shirt, which is amazing.
I know.
Best name for a dojo of all
I know.
time.
Thank you.
I know. We didn't even get a chance to talk about this yet.
I know.
But
I'm wrapping it up.
no.
Wrap it up.
No, finish the story because I want to talk about
Okay.
36 Chambers. I want to
Okay.
talk about Wu-Tang Clan, and I know Evan does too.
Please.
Um,
Forever.
We'll take forever. All right, so I dropped my papers. They stuck me out in Mojave Viper for like 7 months.
Oh, 7 months?
Oh, I was just
Nobody
it was the
deserves
biggest.
that.
It was the biggest FU.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
7 months.
There's nothing out there where they
There's
run
nothing.
that too. It's just
No.
Quonset huts and
It's terrible. At least I had my apartment back in Carlsbad that I would desperately drive
Yeah.
every weekend
Oh
back
my
to
gosh,
just
no
to like
kidding.
not be around civilization.
the only
and
great
not be
thing
around
about
meth.
29 Palms is that you're not too far from Vegas.
True. Only went there once though.
To
That's
Vegas
all-
one
yeah.
time?
That's all
Only
it
one
takes.
time. Yeah, it was.
She was a good Marine Corps officer. That's why.
I was scared.
I was a bad
I was
Marine Corps
scared.
Lance Corporal because I was going to Vegas, baby. You
I heard the safety briefs and the story, so I.
gonna drink, don't drive. You gonna drive, don't drink.
And if
That's
you're gonna go down, you better go down in a blaze of glory. Dude, I remember our libo briefs with the Master
It was always
Chiefs,
the same.
and it was just like, if you're our first sergeant when I was in South America said, if you're gonna be a bear, you better be a grizzly, because when you get back on ship, you better make sure it's been worth it. So I tell my girls, if you're gonna be a bear, you better be a grizzly, because it's gonna hurt when you pay back.
Yep.
Anyways, I am totally deviating off the course here.
That's okay.
I feel like this was a massive.
Let's go back to
deviation.
Mojave.
Mojave Viper. Yeah. So I was like the S3 and S4. All the units came in, and it was just. I mean, it was what it was. I got back to Pendleton in like March of 2005, and I was going ready to go in the office. I was getting out in like June or something, and my admin, the adjutant, calls me and he's like, "You need to go get your dress blues ready." I'm like, "What?" Okay. He goes, "You've got to go make a Keiko call." Like, what? What happened? And so that, can I say asshat?
Yes.
Asshat of the.
I like how you whispered it
know.
into
Can
microphones
I say-
that are extremely sensitive.
We support you.
Yeah, we support.
asshots.
Yeah, we support.
That asshat of a captain who I had that terrible feeling about, he decided to make a absolutely catastrophic decision in Iraq, and he got 8 Marines and 1 sailor killed.
Jeez.
And basically what happened was there was an MTVR, they were crossing a wadi outside of Al-Assad, and it had just been like a flash flood. And it was like fast moving water, which is what happens there, right? And so he asked like the staff NCOs, well, what should we do? He like usurped the convoy commander, which you're never supposed to do, period, end of story. Like even my battalion commander said that. He's like, I'm battalion commander, but you're the convoy commander and you're in charge. I'm like, all right, sir. And it wound up that he asked a bunch of staff NCOs, like, can we cross this with our MTVRs? And 3 out of 4 staff NCOs said, absolutely not, sir. It's way too dangerous with Marines in the back. It's not gonna be good. So then he did the very scientific method of taking rocks and throwing it into the wadi to understand how deep and how fast the water was going.
It ain't that deep.
Wait, what? This is horrible.
It's terrible. Well, then he made the decision to send the first MTVR through. Really getting agitated, and the MTVR overturned, and 8 Marines and 1 sailor were killed.
Jeez.
And 3 of them, they didn't find their bodies 50 miles downstream. So one of them was a Marine who when I was standing in as company commander, I just loved him. He was great lance corporal, got everything done, just took charge. Like the guys you could almost rely on. And one of it was him. And I was so angry, and I can't even put it into words. It wound up happening. I was supposed to make the Keiko call for him, for Lance Corporal Gallagher, and it turned out that his family wasn't in Pendleton; they were in Florida. So I didn't have to make the Keiko call, which is great. Not great, but I mean, it's supposed to be an absolutely brutal thing, and I wouldn't have been able to hold it together. We had a memorial for the Marines on Main Side, and they still hadn't found 3 of their bodies. And the mothers came in. They had brought the mothers in for this memorial, and I mean, that sound of a mother like wailing, it like solidified my decision. Like, I need to get out. I can't do, like, unless I'm physically there and able to do something. I can't do this. I can't take this. I can't hear that. So anyway, a few months later, I got out, wrote a few, convoy ops things, and then got out very uneventfully.
Yeah. And you.
So is it.
But I don't know. Set me back a little bit.
I remember hearing about this.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What year was that?
That was 2005, and the captain got a general court martial. He spent time in the brig, I think, and I mean,
you throw rocks into a wadi and then.
And you killed 7 Marines and a sailor.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah.
let's carry on with
like
this.
in a non-combat thing of all things.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
It's
like,
just bad decision making.
It's just, yeah. So, and anyway, so solidified my decision to get out. But I was so conflicted with it because I knew most of those Marines in that company. One of my good friends took over as XO. And so she went in my place. And so I felt that guilt of like, oh, God dang it, she's got to go. She had to deal with all of that, and I should have dealt with it, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's life. So.
Yeah.
So then I got out. I was in a relationship that time, and I was wanting to go back to Chicago, where I'm originally from. And my ex at the time, he he was supposed to get out too. He just got back from deployment. He's like, I can't get out. So he got orders for I&I duty in Vegas, which I'd only been to once in 29 Palms. And I don't gamble. I definitely drink, but I really don't gamble. So we went and we moved there and stayed there for about 2.5 years. I got a job somehow in sales, selling medical surgical supplies to hospitals. And I was severely broken. Like my back, I had a herniated disc and a bulging disc right above it from McMap. We were talking about McMap earlier.
We haven't even
Yeah.
got to
We can
that
talk
yet.
about
Yes.
McMap.
Yeah, what happened in
Okay.
McMap?
So McMap.
Marine Corps Martial Arts Program.
Did anybody else ever think it was funny how you had to wear the
Mouth
mouth
guard?
guards, and then you'd throw a punch and you'd say Marine Corps, and it always sounded like cream corn. Yeah, it's like cream corn, cream corn, cream corn. I always thought that was kind of funny.
That's great. So my McMap story. So I had just gotten to TBS, and I was doing my laundry, and all of a sudden I see this guy who I went to the World Championships with, who was on the U.S. team as well.
You kind of just really glossed over how you were at a Muay Thai,
An elite
World
level Muay Thai
Championship.
fighter,
Yeah.
and then joined the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
That was I did the whole 9/11 thing. That was a.
Hey,
that was
you
a
didn't
transition.
really tell us how you got to a World Championship level.
It was mostly attrition, just the fact that there weren't a lot of women doing
I'm not
it at the
buying
time.
that at all.
I did.
I think you could
tried-
roundhouse Matt in the face right now.
Oh, definitely not now. No. My SI joint is jacked right now. You're so safe. Like everybody's so safe.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was working in my really crappy public relations job, and I was a competitive swimmer in college, and I just missed. You talk about the tribe. I wasn't in the end, but I missed my swim team. So I was going to Crunch Fitness across the street. I was doing Taibo, which is embarrassing and awful.
Billy Blank.
And just doing the
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jab.
jab and
hook.
kick. And
He's the
grab.
Richard Simmons of martial
Yeah.
arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the classes would be just packed. I mean, there would be hundreds of women that would sign up for this class and be almost kicking each other. And one day it was too full. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I went upstairs, and they had a boxing ring in Crunch in New York City, and there were guys hitting Thai pads and doing Muay Thai. And I'm like, what are you guys doing up here? They're like, oh, we're doing Muay Thai. Do you want to join? I'm like, yeah. So I never punched anyone before. I'd never, I got the crap beat out of me, definitely growing up. But this instructor showed me how to punch, and then he showed me how to turn my hip and get a little bit more force in my punch, and I fell in love. And I was like, where has this been my whole life?
You should have seen the way that her arm muscles flared when she did that.
I can tell.
She can throw a punch.
You wouldn't want her to punch you.
Not
I
at
could
all.
still punch that. The kick is not going to happen today,
Yeah.
but the punch could. Yeah, punch could. So anyway, I was like, after the first class, I'm like, I want to fight. They're like, okay, whatever, little girl, And I kept coming back and getting my ass kicked. And 6 months later, I started sparring and just being so humbled by this little guy who's skinny. For some reason, just put me on my back. I thought I was the shiznit. Can I say
Yeah,
that?
you can say
Shiznit,
that. That's
yeah. Okay.
I think that's in the dictionary now, honestly.
It is. It's in the urban
Thanks, Snoop Dogg.
dictionary.
Yeah, thanks. I don't think the FCC will have anything to say about it.
No.
Maybe I-
Yeah.
I thought I was doing really great, crushing it on pads. And the first time I went sparring, I went a little bit too hard because that's the most dangerous person
Yep.
to spar with.
Yep.
And this guy, one of the coaches, he was very calm, English guy, and he just went boop. And all of a sudden, I'm landing on my back, and I'm
No,
like,
no.
how did this happen?
No. Night.
And so I just kept coming back and getting my ass kicked, and then finally the table started turning, and I started getting some more skill, and I was like, I want to fight. I'm like, okay, you got to lose 25 pounds. And I was like, no. But I did, and I had my first fight in April of 2000, I think, April 2000, and then went on to have a few more fights, and then they're like, hey, the World Kickboxing Association, the WKAs, are coming up, and do you want to enter it? And I'm like, sure, okay, not. And so I went in, and I only had one fight, but I won. And it was one of those good fights too, where it was just the girl was this much shorter than me, and it just felt actually wrong.
Yeah.
'Cause, but anyway. And so then I got on the U.S. team and went to Vienna, Austria for the WKA Worlds. Ooh. And fought
Great
there.
chocolate.
Really good chocolate.
Nice opera.
Yes.
Yeah. Vienna's not known for anything
And
else
waltzes.
other than
Waltzes.
So
Vietnamese
so
waltzes.
from
you
that
do
so
good-
from that level of martial arts to a bunch of grunts
Yeah.
with boots on, most of them who've probably never thrown a punch in their life. Like how was
Oh,
that?
God.
How was that transition?
Well, this is getting to the McMap story. So when I was doing my laundry, I was like, I looked at this guy and I'm like, Ricardo? He's like, Alex? Turns out he was one of the master guns who was putting together the McMap program. They were just putting it together, and he's like, oh, and he also, I don't think he medaled in Austria, but he just killed it. And for some reason, he helped piece together the Muay Thai portion of McMap. So that was my McMap story. But then I herniated my disc, fireman carrying a guy who was much bigger than me the wrong way.
Recently?
during McMap. No, this
Oh,
this
okay,
was
all right.
this was 2000.
So you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to firemen
no,
carry
I
people
don't.
if you don't want to.
No, I don't. Unless I really, really like them.
Yeah.
You've got to be worth it for
Yeah.
me to push my back out.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
We're going to take one more real quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to debate the best Wu-Tang album. Is that what's up next?
It's not up for debate.
It's not up for debate.
You're wearing it on your chest.
Well, I have it in my cell phone. It's a little bit different. But before we do, we have to shout out one of our sponsors, Garrett Harrell from Southern Cross Leadership Solutions. If you need to build better leaders who build better teams, who build better communities, you need to get in touch with Garrett from Southern Cross Leadership Solutions. Website is southerncrossleadershipsolutions.com. Let him know that Evan from Signal Fire sent you. He'll charge you 10% more. Just kidding. We'll be right back on Signal Fire Radio. Don't go anywhere.
My name is Ginny Morse, and I live in Cary, North Carolina. I was diagnosed in 1985 with multiple sclerosis. One of the things that happens to you is the neuropathy pain, and that is actually what happens is damage from MS. I had tried 4 or 5 drugs to alleviate these issues, and I had to take doses that were so high I couldn't get out of bed. So that's when I tried the medical cannabis and discovered that it stopped it. I will turn 69 in October of this year, and I have lived with MS for 36 years. I've had cancer, blood cancer, which is not curable and is progressive since 2017. So when public officials tell me that I need to wait, I need to be more patient, I need to be more understanding, I'm running out of time. Let's think about the people that aren't going to survive, that are going to continue to suffer in ways that could be alleviated by the passage of Senate Bill 711.
Welcome back to Signal Fire Radio. Evan, what is the very best Wu-Tang album of all time?
36
Go.
Chambers.
Defend yourself.
It's not up for debate.
It is up for debate.
Look at the
Defend
track
yourself.
list.
Defend yourself. Come
Look
on,
at the
defend
track
yourself.
list.
It's amazing.
Look at the skits. They're
Okay.
even better.
I'm looking
Can you
at it
tell me
right
the
now.
mystery of chess boxing?
I'm
Can
looking-
you?
God,
Look what you're doing to him, Rob.
he's
I
all
know, he
amped.
does
Bring the
look very-
Ruckus?
yeah.
Is there a better Wu-Tang song than Bring the Ruckus? Method Man?
I'm Method Man.
California
Gravel-
Love.
gravel-
Hello.
That's Tupac. Thank you.
Tupac.
It's Tupac.
There's look,
I want you to know I'm paying attention to
the
you.
the B side of 36 Chambers is better than whatever album you think is better. What was
Even
it,
though
Liquid
you're
Swords?
wrong, huh?
Do you think
well,
Liquid Swords is better?
Yeah, but I mean that's
I think
that's,
Crossing
that's
Swords
Jizza
is
by
better.
himself.
Yeah, I guess.
Jizza the genius. I will submit that the best Wu-Tang album is 36 Chambers. However, the best solo project from the Wu-Tang universe is Liquid Swords.
Okay, I know that's the name of her
So you
gym,
still, you
but
lose.
Can we start
No,
talking
I
about something that
concur.
I can
That's not
be
about
involved
winning or
with?
losing.
I didn't listen to Wu
I'm
Tang.
being deferential to you, my good friend
Listen
Evan.
to
That's what I'm doing.
I support it.
I do have a question for you, Alex, because you now teach Muay Thai as a side hustle. You
Yep.
have a real job, but you have a dojo too as well. Is 36 Chambers, is it named after Wu-Tang?
Yes, my husband and I, we met doing Muay Thai, and the way I knew that he was going to be the one for me is he's like, I love Wu-Tang. I'm like, I love Wu-Tang. You love Muay Thai and Wu-Tang? Like, match made in heaven.
That's got to be a
Chambers.
very small
Dubs.
percentage of people in the whole world. It's
Exactly,
probably just
right?
You too. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was
Literally
just
the
us.
match
That's
made
the
in
one.
heaven.
That was like how I knew.
There you go.
know, that was the sign. So
Soulmate.
yeah, it was absolutely named after that. We actually had a gym open in Illinois where we met. When I moved out to North Carolina, sold the gym, and then came out here and had to take quite a bit of time getting started at finding the right place, finding the right location and stuff. And then, but we always knew, because we loved Wu-Tang, we wanted to call it something around Wu-Tang without any sort of like copyright infringement and legal problems. So yeah, it turned out also, he's like, 36 Chambers is a movie. I'm like, oh yeah, we should probably watch that movie. And it's a cool story.
It's a martial arts movie.
It's a martial arts movie.
Yeah.
And it's about this small town getting overrun by a bunch of thugs. And basically this guy goes up and trains in Kung Fu and then comes up with 36 chambers of ways that people have to get through to become warriors. So basically it's a rite of passage to become warriors. So I was like, well, metaphorically,
Yeah.
great, right? Because we're in Holly Springs, which has got a lot of extra padded income there. So we want
Let's
to
just
make
say
sure.
that Target is the lowest quality store in Holly Springs.
Who doesn't love some
It's
Target?
a nice Target.
This
too.
is not
It
this
is.
is not
Holly
paid
Springs is only
advertisement
40
for
minutes
Tiger.
from my house. We go there
Really?
just to
Yeah.
go to Target. So
Well, now you can. Our gym is right by Target.
I might have to drag Alex there. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
She's a boxer, but
He
she
has-
might do it.
His wife is Alex too.
Oh, great. Yeah, no,
Monica,
you guys are more than
Monica,
welcome.
whatever.
Ali
We'll call her
Alejandra.
lots
We
of
call
stuff.
her everything. Yeah.
I can box not well, but I can. I like to kick people too, but yeah, that's how we got started with 36 Chambers.
And obviously you're deeply passionate about Muay Thai martial arts, but more specifically, you started it to help coach women to be able to defend themselves.
I came about coaching because I had found out I had TBI from years of being punched in the head.
How about that?
And various Marine Corps activities. So I couldn't spar anymore. I couldn't fight. I was done. And it's kind of a natural progression to go into coaching, but it's hard because you almost have to like grieve and mourn the part of you that had that identity as a fighter, which
That's
I
really interesting.
think a lot of military folks have too, because when you get out, like this was your identity for so long, and now all of a sudden,
Yeah.
you're just Rob.
Yeah,
You're
you
just
got to
Alex.
learn how to be done with that.
Yeah.
Before you can really move on. Yeah. Wow. I never thought
Whoa.
about it that way. That was
Yeah.
really well said.
And I've seen, and you see these like professional athletes all the time. They cannot hang it up.
Right.
I always got one more. How many times did Michael Jordan retire? Like four or
Yeah.
five, and then he went to play different sports.
Jerry Rice was another one. He just kept going from
Yeah.
team to team. I'm like, dude, you're the GOAT. Nobody's
Yes.
questioning it.
Dion.
Just
Yeah.
be done.
call it.
Yeah.
Be done.
Be done.
And it's hard.
It is, yeah.
And every time, and I'm freaking 44 now, and every time an 18-year-old comes in and they're like, you're not going to teach me, squat old woman about punching.
Why are
and
you
I'm
here
like,
then?
all right, come on, and then I've got to keep everything in check so I don't push my back out and try to kick this 18-year-old in the head. But but that was, that's how I got into coaching. And I found that when women, just by their nature, are easier to coach than men, they have less of an ego when it comes to brute force. And so we teach them technique first. And just watching a change in like a 12-year-old girl, when you teach her that she actually has physical power, is life-changing.
Matt, you need to get Ryan off of TikTok
She is not on
and
TikTok.
into Alex's gym.
She's not on TikTok. You know this.
I do know this.
She just needs to get off her phone.
Snapchat. She's a big
Yeah.
Snapchatter.
Oh,
Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
she can Snapchat herself like kicking people
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
That's
Which is far
empowering.
more
Not
entertaining.
these little weird
She'll go
herky-jerky
viral.
dances. She would go viral.
Tumbling's her thing, though. She likes flipping. And
Yeah. We're running up against the tight clock, so I wish we could talk more about this. But if somebody wants to get in touch with you and they want your services through 36 Chambers, where should they go?
the head. You can find us on Instagram, 36 Chambers NC.
Ooh, I'm going to add that right now.
And we're also, our website is 36chambersnc.com.
In Holly Springs,
In Holly
right?
Springs, North
Okay.
Carolina, yes.
Love it. Well, thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
We'll have you back sometime. I'm absolutely certain of it.
Great.
Matt's going to get Ryan signed up.
We could
today.
have a whole session.
Can you start one in Wilmington? Because I've emailed like 3 different places in town, and I'm like, hey, what's your schedule? Because I got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. I want to get started. They won't email me back. So
It's awful.
they're probably too busy.
That's terrible business.
They're not that busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start one in
Or
Wilmington.
not that good. Okay.
Yeah. And that
Gotta
way we
think
can
about
play
that.
Wu-Tang. Do you play Wu-Tang the whole time?
Yes.
Okay.
During our kids' classes, we don't.
Yeah.
Naturally, yeah.
Sensible.
But
Lots of-
sparring,
lots of F words in there.
yeah. Oh, and the one where they just talk and he talks about what he's going to do.
Oh, yeah.
That always comes on when there's like a pause in conversation,
course.
and you're just like trying to run to.
You need to
speak.
hear. You need to hear about someone's getting hit
love
with a
you so
spiked
much,
bat. in
children.
I'm
places,
gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear that. I'm like,
Rusty
no,
screwdriver
Rusty
and whatnot. Yeah.
It's worse.
Oh, I love
But
it.
during sparring, yes.
So
lots of Wu-Tang.
36chambersnc.com and 36chambersnc on Instagram.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Excellent. Well, we'll definitely have you back on at some point. Thank you so very much for coming and sharing your story. Matthew, any parting thoughts that you wish to end this show with today?
No, she's like one of a kind. She stands out as a very
Thank you.
very unique guest that we've had.
You know what's cool about her too? She didn't get the EGA until what, like 5 years after you got out or something like that. You said.
12 years after I got out.
Yeah,
Matt,
I
she-
wasn't in the
see
Marine
Matt?
Corps when I got this
Wow,
one.
look
Yeah.
at that.
Look at
That's
that thigh.
Look at that. That's a good looking EGA.
That is meaty right there.
Yeah.
Got it done on my brother's counter in Oakland, California.
Naked.
Naked.
I was
That's
in
a,
Silkies, actually.
that's a story for another time. Evanescence, anything?
No, Alex, thank you. This was
My
super
pleasure.
cool, and yeah, thank you for sharing your background and you know the awful things that made you who you are today. That, you know, not all great, and thank you for sharing those, because some people like to tell like really positive stuff, but it's good to hear the darker things too.
dark side.
that
Well,
help
it all shapes you,
help
right?
grow.
It does.
I mean,
It absolutely
yeah.
does. All right, Killer, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Signal Fire Radio. Until next week, go out and feed your mind, strengthen your body at Alex's Gym. Feed your spirit. No, nurture your spirit. Enrich your spirit. Is that what I say, Matt?
Just keep going.
Enrich your spirit and grow your tribe and go be a Signal Fire in your community. We will talk to you next week.